Hey, yo, Mo, I'm fucking with this.
What's up, my people? This is Zay The Godson. You just tuned in to Talk About It, a podcast set to shed light on the successes of people of color and to bridge the divide that is in our communities. Here in this episode, we have a speech competition, y'all, called What's the Verdict? Between two African queens, two college graduates, one who goes by the name of Ori Cle, the unapologetic poet, an Oakland native who graduated from HBCU College and Stillman College, going up against Ariel B, another African queen, another college graduate who graduated from U.S.C, and also who's continuing her education at Howard University to study law. So we ask you, two participants, Ori Cle and Ariel B, what's the verdict in the trial, the murder case of George Floyd? What should all four officers involved in the murder of George Floyd get? What charge should they get? Should they get first-degree murder, second-degree murder, or third-degree murder? You decide. But a decision will be made. Because Derek Chauvin alone had his knee on George Floyd. Rest in peace, George Floyd. But he had his knee, Derek Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. So this will be talked about here on this episode. First place winner gets $200 cash. Second place winner gets $100 cash. Big shout out to STFU Designs for being our judges here in this speech competition. You have until July 20th, until July 26th, all the way up to Sunday to decide who has the best verdict. Listeners, once again, thank y'all for tuning in. We have something special for y'all here on this podcast. Talk about it. I just want to go down a list of people who I just appreciate. First off, Best Med Pod, you've been a big inspiration to me. I see the work that you're doing. Best Med Pod is a podcast out there created by Simba. Simba really focuses on, and on his podcast is the mental health of our people of color. And so big shout out to y'all and thank you for the videography work here in this episode. Big shout out to Afro Entertainment for, supporting local Bay Area artists just like Ori, helping her with her work and her confidence, building her up. That's what us people need to do, and especially as black men and as black women who are older and who have a lot of experience, need to build up our youth. That's what it's about, because we all we got, right? We all we got. So, man. Oh, and big shout out to So Richmond, who also supports local businesses here in the Bay Area, local talent, and anybody who's traditionally overlooked. The founder of So Richmond is Queen Meyer Deanne. All proceeds in this event will go out to So Richmond. We've already raised $50, but you guys have all this week to donate. If y'all want to know how to donate, just look in the bio, look at the post, go follow our page at Talk About It 5. Y'all find out, y'all see how to donate. But once again, all proceeds in this event will go out to So Richmond. man, there's really nothing else to say. You know what? And I forgot somebody here in this space I got right here is a shared space with my shared studio partner. She goes by the name of Cherie. She's been doing her thing for a long time, and she's been doing it successfully, professionally. And if you guys ever need your website built or you guys need help with branding your business, she's the one to go to. How to follow her is two ways. You can either follow her on Instagram at My Groove Design, or a better way, a more direct way, is to just go to the website at www.mygroovedesign.com. Once again, mygroovedesign.com. That's what it's about, and that's what this podcast is about, is to shed light on the successes of people of color and to bridge the divide on our community. So if I bring people who are already doing it and who are people of color, that's how y'all get built up. That's how y'all become better men and women. All right? Because the world has us fucked up, right? Paints a picture that is not accurate. But it's our obligation, and we should be held accountable as well, us people of color as well, what we put out. So y'all need to stop putting out that BS and really talk about something. So thank y'all for joining in. Yeah, so just stay tuned in, and I hope y'all like it. Once again, peace and blessings, and comment, DM me, share it. It's all love. Support, donate, all that. Do all that. Because once again, here I'll talk about it is a podcast to shed light on the successes of people of color and to bridge the divide that is in our communities. Peace and blessings, y'all.
Hey guys, it's Tasha. I'm the owner of STFU. I just wanted to hop on here real quick because our speech competition is coming up. We'll talk about it. Speech competition is coming up. So I wanted to give a big shout out to Ori and Ariel. And just tell you guys that we're grading on a 5-point scale. Again, of course. 1 point for content, 2 point for how valid your argument is, and another 2 points for your delivery. And we're super excited to be a part of this and everything and judge the competition. And I just wanted to come on here and wish you guys good luck and everything. Tell you again what we were judging on. And yeah, don't forget to go on to STFU, use the gift cards that you guys got, get you guys some items. And yeah, we'll see you guys at the competition.
Hey. My name is Ori, and this weekend I'll be sitting down with a Talk About It podcast to discuss what I believe the verdict should be for the officers involved in the George Floyd murder case. You'll be able to hear my opinions and my thoughts firsthand, and all of the proceeds from this event go back to the So Richmond Foundation in Richmond, California. Be sure to tune in on July 20th as this airs with the Talk About It podcast. You don't want to miss it.
This country continues to disregard the value of human and civil rights for any person that is labeled unfit by societal and or political standing. When persons occupying positions of power fail to use their influence or power to protect the citizens they are intended to govern, fatalities that rest on their hands are considered as state-sanctioned murder. The case of George Floyd is not too different, in which a murder was invoked by loyalty to ambition and personal bias. Yet only 1 of 4 officers acted on both accounts that support the argument of a first-degree murder charge. The officer in question acted on and encouraged systemic prejudice and racism, and that was Senior Officer in Charge Derek Chauvin. Chauvin has 19 years of experience and 18 official complaints on his record, of which only 2 he was reprimanded for, yet still allowed to keep his job. As he transferred precincts during his span as an officer, his undisciplined behavior followed him. Communities that neither he nor his family lived far too often were affected by his use of excessive force and negligence to properly address and assist merchants with the reason they called. May 25, 2020 was another day that Chauvin was dispatched and expected to serve and protect, as well as properly instruct his subordinates, which he did not. He arrived to the scene as a secondary responder with his partner, who is no stranger to complaints of excessive force, to an address where the person in question was a man that he was familiar with. This in itself stands as a conflict of interest. Chauvin knew Floyd, who worked a security shift on one of his roles. This in itself stands as a conflict of interest. Chauvin knew Floyd, who worked a security shift on one of his routes. People who knew the two are aware that they did not have a positive interaction as a result of Chauvin's excessive force tactics with people of color. This was led by his drive to do what he believed is right in his field of work. His drive for success precedes him. He was awarded medals and given notoriety through city achievements and as a U.S. policeman. As any person with a career wants to, climb the ladder and be effective and successful as they see fit. Quite the same with the remaining 3 officers. Tao is the following officer with 11 years of experience. His record precedes him with 6 complaints and a severe altercation with his partner in which a citizen was beaten to the extent that he needed medical attention. Tao received no charges, no documented reprimand, and was allowed to continue his job where he would continue in a field he enjoyed with the expectancy to pursue his career. Lane and King, the 2 first responders, are the least experienced of the 4. Lane having 1 year of service completed and King less than a week. They represent eager, bright-eyed students who want to excel, yet with lack of experience, there is knowledge lacked. So they follow the order and instruction of their superior officer, which was Derek Chauvin, who instructed them to fudge. Lane and King, the first 2 responders, are the least experienced of the 4. Lane having 1 year of service completed and King less than a week. They represent eager, bright-eyed students who want to excel, yet with lack of experience there is knowledge lacked. So they follow the order and instruction of their superior officer, who was Derek Chauvin. Chauvin instructed Lane and King to assist in restraining Mr. Floyd by his legs and back as he restrained Floyd by holding and pressing his weight into his neck with his knee for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. During this period, George Floyd stated that he could not breathe. Chauvin's response was to stop resisting. He pleaded again for easier airflow, to which an officer asked, should we turn him to his side to accommodate for proper airflow? The response was, that's why we have him on his stomach. Again, multiple times Floyd said that he could not breathe, and it was met with the response of, then stop talking, stop yelling. It takes a heck of a lot of oxygen to breathe. During these same 8 minutes and 46 seconds, Lane called for an EMT request, but it did not arrive, and further requested for an ambulance for critical help, yet still Chauvin continued to keep his knee in the suspect's neck. By the time the ambulance arrived, Floyd's body gave up on its natural instinct to keep the body alive. The fear that overwhelmed Floyd manifested in the 3 officers in a similar manner. It projected the possibilities of losing one's job, being written up, accused of interfering with the chain of command and remaining stagnant in their position on the force, and their willingness to not comply or to report the behavior or the concern of the behavior for their senior officer in charge constitutes as aiding and abetting Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin gave his allegiance to the force and relied on his experience. It was induced by his loyalty for ambition, for success, and for his own personal bias. Even after de-escalating the situation, he chose to use his own will and power to maintain control as opposed to offering a solution. He made a decision regardless of the constant pleas for help and the concern of his team members. He himself rested on the neck of a handcuffed, subdued man for 8 minutes and 46 seconds until his body succumbed to the stress. With no influence or provocation from any external force, he made a choice that took the life of a father, a son, a brother, a cousin with his own body, something that Lane, King, and Tao did not pursue themselves. His sole actions are deemed as unwavering, which favors the outcome of a first-degree murder charge, and for indirect actions, second-degree murder charges serve as a proper conviction for the remaining 3 officers.
Hi everyone, my name is Ariel B. I'll be competing in the speech competition, What's the Verdict, hosted by Talk About It podcast, which is created by my good friend Zay The Godson. We'll be speaking on what we believe the verdict should be for the 4 officers involved in the murder of George Floyd. I believe Derek Chauvin, the primary officer involved in the murder, should be convicted of second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. If you're interested in knowing why I believe that, tune in next week. The podcast should be made available to the public by then. Shout out to So Richmond. All of the proceeds from the speech competition will be going to them, a local Bay Area organization that highlights businesses and local talent. Also, shout out to STFU Designs, who will be providing apparel and judges for the competition. See you all next week.
On May 25, 2020, George Floyd's life was prematurely taken by former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Chauvin was accompanied by former police officers J. Alexander Kung, Thomas Lane, and Tu Tao. As you may know, the graphic video of Floyd's murder incited civil unrest around the world. Protesters set to the streets demanding not only justice for Floyd, but an end to the country's inhumane treatment of black people, especially at the hands of the police. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison claims the protests did not play a role in his decision to press charges against the 4 officers. While many saw the arrests as a way to simply pacify the resurging movement, others believe that the charges were the first step in the pursuit of justice. Charging police officers is often a costly and disappointing effort in the United States. Minnesota specifically does not have a great track record of holding police officers accountable for their crimes. Geronimo Yanez, the officer that shot and killed Philando Castile in his car during a routine traffic stop, was acquitted of all charges in 2017 and was paid a considerable amount of money by the city of St. Anthony, Minnesota, and his former police department. Castile received no justice. I say this not to deteriorate any hope that remains in our broken system, although I do believe it is broken beyond repair, but to stress how important it is for prosecutors to make a legally sound argument for the charges pressed against the 4 men. The charges are as follows. Derek Chauvin is charged with second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. J. Alexander Kung, Thomas Lane, and Tu Tao are charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder and aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter. I believe that the charges against all 4 men are fair and in accordance with the Minnesota Criminal Code. Let me explain why. Starting with Derek Chauvin, the man who put his knee in George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds with his hands in his pockets and a smug look on his face. His charges of second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter carry a combined maximum penalty of 50 years in prison and a $20,000 fine. The Minnesota Criminal Code defines the intentional murder of someone in the second degree as intentional murder without premeditation. The intentionality of Derek Chauvin's actions can be proved by the sheer amount of time that he applied force to George Floyd's neck. However, proving that his actions were premeditated is not likely, seeing as the police were called to the scene and there is no public evidence suggesting that Chauvin had prior knowledge of the extent of the situation. Bumping the murder charges up to first degree would weaken the case, thus increasing Derek Chauvin's chances of getting acquitted. This leads us into the second charge of second-degree manslaughter. Prosecutors need only to prove that Chauvin consciously took the chance of causing death or great bodily harm by pressing his knee into George Floyd's neck. I think that one's pretty obvious. These charges most accurately align with Derek Chauvin's actions that day, as far as I know. They only carry a 50-year sentence at max, but for a 44-year-old man, that's the rest of his life. The other 3 former officers are each charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. This carries a combined maximum penalty of 6 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Aiding and abetting is defined as knowingly aiding and assisting by words or actions another who is committing or attempting to commit a crime. J. Alexander Kung and Thomas Lane actually assisted in physically restraining Floyd, so there may be a stronger case against them. Tu Tao is the officer who was just watching the entire scene unfold. He faces the same charges. While I believe the actions and inactions of all 3 men are deplorable, they do not meet the legal definition of murder and thus cannot be charged to a greater extent. To paraphrase what is known as the rule of law, laws must be general, equal, and certain. the 4 men who killed George Floyd are convicted of the charges they face, that will be the greatest extent at which the justice system can punish them. Unfortunately, the generality of the law seldom applies to police in this country. As a Black American, a Native Estonian, future lawyer, and simply a human being, my heart aches for George Floyd's family. No amount of prison time for these 4 men will restore what the family and friends have lost. No amount of money paid to the justice system will restore the life of George Floyd. But the conviction of Derek Chauvin, J. Alexander Kong, Thomas Lane, and Tu Tao would be the most holistic justice that our system can offer.